Cain and Abel each brought an offering to God. One was accepted, one was not. For a long time, the popular explanation has seemed obvious. Cain grew crops, Abel raised sheep. Animal sacrifice, the thinking goes, was simply the right kind of offering, and grain was not. But the text itself never says that. Genesis describes two brothers bringing what they had, and then gives a single line explaining the result. God had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering, God had none. No reason follows, no stated rule about blood versus grain, just an outcome. So if the passage never explains the difference, where did that popular explanation come from? And is it actually the right one? Look closer at how each offering is described. Abel's is called the firstlings of his flock and their fat portions, the earliest and best of what he had. Cain's is simply the fruit of the ground. Nothing marks it as his first harvest or his finest crop. That contrast, some interpreters argue, matters more than the type of offering itself. The difference may not have been sheep versus grain, it may have been effort versus obligation. That raises the real question. What if the material of the offering was never the issue at all? What if Cain's offering failed not because it lacked blood, but because it lacked his best? It's a small shift, but it changes the entire story. A tale about the wrong ingredient becomes a tale about a wrong kind of giving. And that reading fits uneasily with how Cain is often remembered, as a man punished for a technical error rather than a deliberate choice. Both offerings appear in the same sentence, described in almost the same structure. Cain, the firstborn, worked the soil. Abel, his younger brother, kept the flock. But when God speaks to Cain directly afterward, the wording shifts. God does not mention the wrong object on the altar. God asks, "If you do well, will you not be accepted?" That question points toward the person bringing the gift, not the gift itself. The New Testament letter to the Hebrews later credits Abel's offering to his faith, not to the animal itself, a sign that some of the earliest readers of this story also placed the difference in the giver, not the grain. Still, the blood sacrifice explanation persists for a reason. Later biblical law does require animal sacrifice for specific purposes, and it is tempting to read that later requirement back into this much earlier scene. But those laws belong to a different book, a different century, and a different context. Applying them to Cain and Abel may say more about later tradition than about the moment the text is actually describing. Even so, the material difference is not easy to dismiss. Blood carries real weight throughout Genesis, and some scholars maintain that a grain offering was inherently insufficient, no matter the giver's intention. If that reading is correct, Cain may have been turned away on a technicality, the wrong kind of offering, not the wrong kind of heart. What the text actually confirms is limited. Abel's offering was accepted, Cain's was not. And Cain's reaction, anger, a face that falls, becomes the visible evidence that something remained unresolved. Whether the deciding factor was the substance on the altar or the spirit behind it is something Genesis never states outright. Readers have been filling that silence for thousands of years. Cain and Abel is remembered as the story of the first murder, but it may begin as a quieter story first, about two brothers, two offerings, and a single sentence that never tells us exactly why one mattered more than the other.